Everyone, it's Jessica, and it is the second Friday of the month, which means I am doing a YouTube sketch hop with my friends. And this month, Michelle picked the sketch and our theme, which is Bon Voyage. So I have pulled these photos here that I have from the airport when we were getting ready to leave for spring break a few years ago. And I really love these ones here of my son looking out the plane window and the sun over the wing. Those are great. And then I have a couple of 3x3s as well. I don't know where my other one went. Here it is. So I have a lot of photos to fit onto my page. But I really thought that this paper collection here, this is Vicki Boutin Where To Next. I have scraps left, but I do still have a lot of stickers and die cuts from this collection, but I thought it would work well with the theme that Michelle gave us. So I know we're not getting ready to sail off on a cruise or anything for Bon Voyage, but I just thought that that really invoked that travel theme, and so that's why I chose those photos. So let's take a look at the sketch that Michelle chose. It is designed by PageMaps, and I have done something similar to this before. I really love all of those little strips of paper kind of fanning out an array over to the side. So I think I'm going to do these two 3x4 photos over here and then create that over to the right hand side. Now obviously I have more pictures, so I'm going to actually stretch this sketch into a double page layout. A lot of my papers from this collection are really just small scraps, so I don't have very many choices here as far as bigger pieces of paper. But what I think I'm going to do, I'm probably going to use this orange yellow one, I'm thinking, and I'm going to try to put a little bit of it on both the left and the right hand side of my layout. That way it'll kind of make that continuous transition over to the left page, and then I can do something with my pictures over to the other side. And having all those scraps actually works out really well as far as creating that focal piece over on the right page. It's going to be pretty easy just to use some of the strips that I already have cut down or to grab some more based on those scraps. So over here on the left-hand side, to turn this into a double page, I'm thinking maybe a little something like this. I'm not really sure about these 3x3s because both of them are pictures from on the plane, and my two 4x6 photos are from when we were sitting in the terminal waiting, before it was time to board the plane. So I felt like I kind of wanted to keep the pictures that are on the plane close to each other, like the two that are on the right hand side. And so I wasn't really sure how to figure that out just yet, but I do know I'm going to stretch it into a double page. So I spend a little bit of time here just kind of figuring some things out. In addition to having that orange yellow piece there, I want to bring in a little bit more pattern paper for my left hand side. So I'm kind of trying out a few things here. I didn't know if I could make it stretch to both sides here. I love this cloud paper. I don't end up using that though. But I'm going to pull in, I've got a different one, this one here, and it's just a black and white print, but it's got a lot of fun things on it that are related to travel. So I'm going to actually cut this one down. So I'll go ahead and get off camera here and kind of make some of my final decisions and cuts on the papers, and that way we can go ahead and start putting this together. So I just took that whole yellow scrap that I had and just made a little cut on it. And then I cut this one here so that I'd have a 1.5 inch border around the three edges. And then I also cut a couple of photo mats and some sorbet colored cardstock just to help my photos pop off of the background of the page here. And so I'm going to put my two 4x6 over here, I think. At this point, I am thinking that I probably won't use those two 3x3s just because I didn't like the way that they looked on the layout, although later I do find a way to work them in. And then I've got the scraps here kind of cut down. I cut most of them if they needed to be cut at maybe like 2 inches or 2 1/4. Some of them I just left as they were in my scrap pile. And so now I'm just trying to figure out what order to put them in and, if I need to cut anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and commit to putting my photos on that photo mat so I can start kind of moving things around here as I'm trying to figure this out. You know, this was from spring break a few years ago, and it was kind of funny because we got a snowstorm that day, and we were supposed to be in school, but we ended up having a snow day, which was nice because it made getting to the airport and everything a little bit less frantic. But we were kind of worried that maybe the snow was also going to affect our travel plans. We managed to get out of town okay, but we did have to wait for the plane to be de-iced and all of that. So it was a bit of an extra adventure for the kids, especially because this was only really the second time in their memory that they had flown on a plane. And so they were pretty excited about this trip here. So here's where I decide that I'm still going to keep those two 3x3 photos, but I'm going to hide them underneath this one 4x6, and I'm going to pull in a flip flap from my stash. So that'll also give me a little bit of extra space for some journaling if I put it underneath that 4x6 photo. So now that I kind of know what strips I want to use where, I'm going to just kind of make a mark if I need to cut any of them down and get them trimmed up. Also, as I'm looking at the sketch, I'm noticing that they are not straight, well, I guess even pieces of paper, that they do have a little bit of a diagonal to them where the top is wider than the bottom. They kind of taper down a little bit. So here I am just grabbing my paper trimmer, and I'm not being very exact. I'm not measuring anything. I'm just giving it a bit of an angle on each of the papers. And yeah, nothing too specific here. I just kind of very quickly trim these down. The other thing I'm doing is I'm flipping each paper over and putting a number on it when I'm done cutting it, because I know me, and by the time I go to glue these down, I'm going to forget what order I had figured everything out that I wanted to put them in. So I'm giving them a 1, 2, 3, and so on. If I remember correctly, this sketch did call for 7 pieces of paper over here. Now, if you've been following me for a while on YouTube, you know that I love to do stitching, hand stitching on my projects. And I really thought about doing that with these like ray pieces over here and kind of putting some stitching down the center of each of them. But I just really wasn't feeling it when I was creating this layout. Like, my heart wanted to, but I was just feeling too tired to do all that stitching. But I think that that would be really, really cute. The other thing that I had kind of thought about doing that I also chickened out on was putting a little bit of like maybe mixed media or ink blending behind these rays. I think that would have been really pretty, and I am excited to see my friends' videos because I'm sure that Sarah Miller House, for example, probably did something gorgeous behind all of them. And I kind of thought about getting out my Distress Oxide inks, but then I was like, I don't know. Sometimes I don't know. I just need to be braver and play with those things more often because they do turn out so wonderfully. All right, so now that I have most of these just tacked down lightly, I'm going to go ahead and carefully flip up my photos and give the pieces a little haircut. It was starting to get quite bulky underneath of my photo mat there, and then I will sneak some liquid glue underneath the rest of them just to finish gluing things down. And then I had this branding strip that had the fun cloud pattern on it sitting on my desk from cutting down those papers, and I decided to add this to both sides of the page. I'm going to get it on the right hand side a little bit later, but I'm going to add it just as a border along that yellow-orange piece. So here's where I'm going to go through and now start pulling in all of those different die cuts. So you know, again, we were just on a plane, so I'm like, we're going to Florida. So I'm like, I can do, you know, things that are kind of tropical. The sun's going to work really well, but I'm going to go ahead and put my photos down here because I know that's where they're going to be. And then I can start kind of playing with layering up these die cuts. I do have a sticker sheet as well, but I have a ton of die cuts here. And so this is actually a sun from the sticker sheet that I had removed the adhesive backing off of already. And I tried putting that one there first, but I'm going to switch it out for a different sun later. But I just started flipping through all of the different things, and this is the stack that I came up with. So I liked that little clipboard. I thought it was kind of a good landing place for building a little embellishment cluster. So I'm going to start tucking some things underneath of it, like that leaf. And then this is a cute little map. So I'm going to layer that with the leaf and the title, which says Time to Relax. We don't normally do this sort of spring break trip. In fact, this is the first time we've done something like this with the kids on a spring break, as go to Florida. And so it was really exciting, definitely a time to relax. We tend to get, as I said, a lot of snow in Michigan right around spring break time. And so the prior year we had gotten a snowstorm as well. And I was like, that's it. We're going somewhere warm next year. So definitely time to relax in the sun. And so I've got a couple other things here. I had some suitcase die cuts that I thought would have been really cute. One of them doesn't make it on the page, but I use that stack of suitcases there. I'm going to shift this up just a little bit so I can see some more of that cute pattern paper underneath of that whole cluster. And then I'll try to work in these sunglasses, but I don't really quite have them yet. I like this palm tree because we are going to Florida, so I'm going to actually layer that here in the bottom corner of my right page. And what I'll end up doing once I have it glued down is I'm going to cut off that part that is overhanging, and I'm going to match it up over to the left-hand page. That way when I have this together in my scrapbook, it just looks like one continuous piece there for the embellishment. And I'll layer those stacked suitcases over top. And then I did have this plain die cut, which I was like, oh my gosh, we're in the airport, we're on the plane, I need to use this. But I don't know what it was about this particular image. It kind of bothered me. I kept looking at it and thinking, am I holding this upside down? Like, there was just something about the angle of it that felt a little awkward to me, and I just didn't love it, even though I liked the idea of the plane. So I remembered that there was a sticker on the sticker sheet that had a plane as well. And I think it says something like up, up, and away. So I'm going to end up putting some foam tape on that and popping that into those rays later. There are a couple of other stickers I grabbed. There's a little camera and a heart, and then that little green tag that says journey. So I went ahead and glued everything down. Some stuff is down with foam tape and some of it is flat to the page. And then I took just a couple of white strips of cardstock and I'm going to layer them over that clipboard. And it's not going to be all of my journaling, but it's just going to be like a little bit kind of saying, what the year was, spring break, where we were going. And then the majority of my journaling I'm going to do underneath that 4x6 photo when I have it in the flip flap. So I'll just kind of finish gluing that stuff down, and then I'd kind of taped this so it wouldn't wiggle around on me. But yep, I'm going to stamp some journaling lines here next to my 2 3x3 photos, and then that should be enough space to say all the things I want to say about our snowstorm and finally making it, someplace warm for vacation. So at this point I was nearly done, and I kind of wanted to add a little something more to the page. So I grabbed my black journaling pen, and I know my friends Katie and Julie do their doodle lines all the time and it always looks wonderful. So I just drew a little wonky doodle line around the white part of my layout. And then I borrowed Katie Taylor's famous little heartstrings doodles that she does. I love those. So I just kind of made it looks like a little bow with some tails coming off and some dots. And I did that in a couple different places on my doodle line. And that's pretty much going to be it. I contemplated bringing in a few gems or something, but I end up leaving it as it is. So all in all, it's like a fairly simple layout, but I was happy to be able to stretch that single sketch into a double page so that I can include all of the relevant pictures. So here is that final project. I hope you guys have enjoyed watching. I'm really excited to see everybody else's videos for this sketch because I just think that those strips of paper over to the side really are going to lend themselves to some really cool projects, and it's going to be neat to see what everyone did with their take on this theme and this sketch. So make sure that you check the description box down below. I will leave a link to the playlist where all of our videos will be. And again, this is just a fun little hop that I do with my friends on the second Friday of each month. So I will see you again soon and have a great day. Happy crafting, guys. Bye.